This program is brought to you as a public service by Maui Causes. Maui Causes is a crowd-funded media production group that provides media production services to a variety of environmental and progressive causes here in Maui County. Visit us on the web at www.mauicauses.org. Welcome to another edition of Maui Causes. Hi, I'm Sam Small. Eternal thanks to Todd Swan and Sleepy John in the control room and to Kaku for existing in the first place. What an amazing public resource we have here in Kaku for us to be able to come into their studios and create this kind of program like Maui Causes, which is dedicated to being a positive disruption to the status quo. Apologies to the powers that be, but we are here to sort of change things up. That is a absolutely necessary ingredient in a free democracy, because after a while, economic interests assert themselves and begin to control the political system and the decision-making process and even the structure of our local government, and they control those elements to their own advantage. That means that they make money from everything, and that's kind of the way things have been here in Maui County for a long time. We have an opportunity like never before. You as voters voted for county council members, the majority of which have a understanding that the fixed resources of Maui County, these islands, it's not a big island here. And the precious balance of our ecosystem is so easily overrun. And that's kind of what's been happening. Tourism has expanded beyond any kind of balanced perspective, if you look at the vetted studies and surveys, to understand what is the carrying capacity, how much pollution, how many visitors can the island absorb. And we have more visitors coming here now than what we can absorb. And that industry continues to grow. So we believe that we have county council members, thanks to the way that you all voted. We believe that there are enough county council members now on the council who have an understanding of that limit and respect that limit. And are willing to look at our system and make changes to the structure of our local county government so that those limits can be respected. And that is, kind of revolutionary. We've never had that here in Maui County. The county council has always had a majority of council members who were totally willing to ignore all of the warning signs, totally willing to ignore all of the indications of corruption within our local county government. Never once has any of our county councils actually launched an investigation. That's an authority and a power that's vested into the county council through our county charter. And yet they've never done it. If you wonder how a particular place got developed or built, that really never should have been developed and built. There are questionable practices that go along with that. And somehow the past county councils have been so intimidated by the powers that be, I guess. Corporation Council is certainly one of them, that those issues have never been explored or exposed. And we have an opportunity to change that now. There is an opportunity to create accountability in a way that has never existed here in Maui County. And Mayor Mike Victorino has expressed an interest in establishing that level of accountability. I'm hoping that it happens. And if it does, I think we'll see it in relatively short order, because otherwise he's going to end up inheriting all of the slime and all of the tarnished activities of the previous administrations. You got to make a clean break. You got to do it right away. And we're hoping to see some changes in those realms. One of those changes is in place. David Ratz has been hired by Council Services to work as a legislative attorney. That is a legal opinion that is available to the county council members that we actually voted for in 2016, but the Arakawa administration found a way to block it. So the council members have not had what you voted for 2 years. And that is an independent legal opinion, independent of corporation counsel, independent of, quote unquote, the mayor's attorney. And that is the system that the Arakawa administration used to dominate the county council and intimidate the county council. And hopefully those days are over. We can move on into an agenda that does respect the carrying capacity of these islands, that does respect the delicate balance. It's not to say that all development stops. That's unreasonable. No one, I think, in a reasonable mind would say that, oh my God, you can't build anything more here in Maui County. That's not going to happen. It's not real. But there is a limit to how built out Maui County can be. And it's seemingly that our Arakawa administration and previous administrations envisioned 100% build out, that Maui would be built out and it would be just like Oahu, and wouldn't that be amazing? Well, I'll tell you, that's not amazing. That would be absolutely horrendous. That would be criminal to do that to this island and these islands. And I believe that the administration going forward has an understanding that there needs to be a track towards sustainability. And what are the indicators? What are the things that we need to respect? We have mechanisms in our county like the island plan, the community plans. Those plans have never really anticipated, for instance, the end of sugarcane. Because it really wasn't on the table when the community was working on those plans. So those lands have never really been envisioned on what would happen after sugarcane. And as well, you know, there's something, you know, relatively new in our reality, and that's climate change. Sea level rise is a real thing. There are legitimate reports and studies that indicate that we will be experiencing sea level rise. And we are seeing it, you know, in ocean shoreline degradation, erosion. There are already properties. There's a property in Kihei that has been under construction for a while, and it is way too close to the shoreline. And I think the people that are developing that project are beginning to see that, wait a minute, they got a problem on their hands because the shoreline is going to come up and it's going to meet their structure, and they're not even done building yet. And so those things need to be taken into account. And that's what we're hoping that our new county council and our new mayor are willing to address and willing to filter into our understanding and our projections of how Maui County is going to survive these climate changes. We have, you know, at every opportunity that we can, we try and bring to you, the viewer of Maui County, solutions to these problems. It's not just about sitting here complaining about these things. We bring solutions to you. And I'm very happy today to be joined by Rita Ryan, who has a very nice presentation and has been doing work on these climate change issues. Rita, thank you very much for coming today and being a part of this and really spearheading a local initiative to bring these issues down to our ground level so that people can understand it and the county council can embrace these things.
Absolutely, and thank you, Sam, for having me today. Thank you for your program. Thank you for supporting free speech and democracy here in Maui County. And thank you all for watching. Yeah. And so I am with 350.org. We have chapters in 188 countries. Many of you have heard of Bill McKibben. He's our fearless leader who started this. He's an author and environmentalist who started 350.org.
And Bill has come to Maui several times to give presentations.
He has come and to sold out events and given presentations. So he's very popular and has a great message for us all. And so I wanted to talk a little bit today about that. I wanted to talk about some basics of climate science, and then what we can do here in Maui County, and what you can do, and how we can fix this problem, because it is fixable. All of the technology that we need to fix this problem is available to us today. We don't have to wait for new technology to resolve the issues. So that is positively encouraging.
It is.
Yeah, so some climate science basics here. First of all, it's warming. It's us. We're sure, 97% of climate scientists agree, it's bad, and we can fix it. So if we go with that, there's no more, discussion about climate denial or science denial anymore. That's old news. We're into we know we have a problem. Let's fix it. We are technological people. We're ingenious people. At Maui, when we want to get something done, sure enough, we get it done.
Well, there is a tremendous knowledge base and experience base. Maui really does tend to attract people that are at the top of their game.
Absolutely.
We benefit from that in the local community. We benefit from that in the activists community.
Right.
That there are people that really do understand the issues and understand how we can move forward as a political force to bring these issues to the surface.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what we're talking about today, and I'll get into more detail about it, but is passing a resolution at the Maui County Council level to be fossil-free. So 350.org, we're the fossil-free people. We want 100% renewable energy. We all know we're going to get there, but how soon are we going to get there?
And there have been, the state government, Governor Ige has laid some, marching orders into the state system to say that we have goals, for renewable energy and stuff. But some of that really isn't soon enough.
It is not soon enough.
Based on what we're really presented with. The changes that are happening so much faster than anybody anticipated.
Absolutely.
We really can't wait as long as what they've set up.
Absolutely. And we really have to revise our strategy as new information becomes available to us.
Sure.
So last year, the International Panel on Climate Change, Ipcc, came out with a report. Now, previously, we thought that we could sustain up to an increase of average global temperature of 2 degrees Celsius. We've already spent one of those degrees, by the way. And we found out that we really can't, that we can barely sustain 1.5 degrees Celsius. So
and these are based on computer models and actual climate history and the progression of the climate
geologists,
change.
Economists, climatologists, biologists, botanists, all kinds of people came together to find out how do we solve this problem. Now, as far as the numbers go, this was the most complete global study ever conducted to date. It involved climate scientists from all around the world, from China, from different parts of Asia, from the United States, from Europe, Africa. So this, and they came together, a huge number of climate scientists in agreement on this Ipcc report. So I'm not qualified to argue with them.
Well, and the only, the people that are arguing with them have a vested interest in keeping things the way that they are. The oil and gas industry, the Koch brothers, the coal industry, the Trump administration seems to, be willing to deny all of the climate science that people that do have an open mind and are willing to do their homework to understand is a functional reality in our world today.
Right.
Our climate is warming. The ocean, the polar ice caps are melting.
It's visible.
And
visible.
Shorelines are disappearing.
Increasing.
The ocean
Right.
level is rising. There are entire nations in the island in the South Pacific.
Marshall Islands. Kiribati is moving to Fiji. The entire country.
The entire country has to.
I was in Kiribati 20 years ago. Beautiful, idyllic, like Polynesia. You feel like you just walked into the Moana movie. Unfortunately now, they're very flat atolls.
Right.
In these Pacific islands, and they're going underwater. We lost an island in the Hawaiian chain, in the northwest Hawaiian Islands, where the monk seals tend to or go to have their babies. And how is that going to affect an already endangered species? Very negatively. Also, the sea turtles have babies there. So we're going to see, we are in the next big extinction, massive extinction event. We've lost so many species of animals, not just here on Maui, where we have the most endangered species anywhere, I believe, but all around the world, we've lost species.
And that, those climate changes, it doesn't take much, in terms of, air temperature and for
Right.
instance, on our island, as you go higher on Haleakala, it gets cooler.
Right.
And so, for instance, mosquitoes,
Right.
and versus the bird population, the native bird population. So
Right.
some of that bird population can only, because of diseases that are carried by the mosquitoes,
right.
that bird population is only able to exist above a certain elevation.
Absolutely.
As the environment warms, the mosquitoes travel higher and higher.
Right.
And suddenly they introduce the diseases that the mosquitoes carry
Absolutely.
to the bird population.
Yes, and these are known facts.
Those are real issues.
Those are real issues and observable here. My daughter is currently home from college. She's a veterinary student. So we've been bird watching. We've been all over the island bird watching. We've been up looking at the mountain birds, and she's a photographer as well. We've been, an interesting note, this weekend we were at Kailua Fish Pond, and they have the boardwalk there, which is just beautiful, and it's great. And as we're standing there, and I'm letting my daughter know, this is going underwater, right?
This whole area.
Yeah,
we'll
and
get some
this environment is a stopping point for so many migratory birds that come from Alaska during the winter. They have to come down here to eat because it's all frozen up there. So we've got a lot of native birds, but we also have these birds that are migratory. So without a stop in Hawaii, and they've lost so many of their wetlands across the islands. Without these wetlands, they're going to go extinct as well. Now, as the ocean rises, you can say goodbye to the fish pond. Are we going to move that back? Oh, oops. There's an energy plant right there.
Right.
So we're standing on the boardwalk, looking at the birds, looking out over the ocean, smelling diesel fuel.
Oh, boy.
It was nauseating, actually, because it really, in that one moment, you could see what's happening. Here's the ocean, it's rising. There's the energy plant, it's polluting. And that energy plant has to be moved. If we don't make plans now to move it, we can wait until the disasters start occurring. We can hope that FEMA comes in and saves us, which they'll be bankrupt by then, by the time that happens. So we have to plan. We need to plan for climate change mitigation, resiliency, right, and sustainability.
Right.
So we have to build buildings that are resilient to climate change in areas where they can survive the sea level rise. Lucky Governor Ige just, I think this past week, passed a resolution to make sure that the sea level rise is included in all environmental impact statements. And that's a real win for Hawaii.
That's a big change.
Absolutely, because so many, as you mentioned, this project in Kihei, so many of these were put in place, but sea level rise was not included in the environmental impact statement.
Right.
So that's a big.
Even with projects that are relatively new, the Energia project for waste water and waste reclamation, The site for that it completely really ignores sea level rise.
Absolutely.
Our existing, sewage treatment plant,
yes,
is vulnerable.
It's in sea level rise zone, but before sea level rise gets it, it's going to be in storm and hurricane inundation zones.
Right.
So it's going to be hit by those big storms before it gets swallowed up by the sea.
So it's not just, we're not just talking about the daily, the average level of the shoreline. It's made even worse when we have hurricanes storm surges and storm events that bring that water up even higher.
Right.
So that inundation zone is rising as well.
Right, and storms are getting bigger.
Storms are getting bigger too.
It's a fact. They're not increasing as far as the number of storms. They're getting more intense. They're doing more damage, as we see. In the news. There's so many storms and fires and floods. So what does climate change bring with it? Okay, it brings a lot of things. It brings a lot of mass migration. We're already seeing it. I don't know if you know, but that whole Syria refugee thing is a climate issue. It's a climate issue because people, there was a drought and everybody came into the city. And when they came into the city, there was trouble. There was no room for these refugees in the city. War broke out. People left the city, went to find refuge in Europe, in Africa, in the United States, different places.
Millions of people.
Yeah, and that's the first, real climate-related mass migration. We're seeing, Kiribati moving to Fiji, but some people are saying no. We're not going to leave. We'll stay here. If the ocean swallows us, the ocean. I know.
We'll go down with the ship.
Yeah, exactly. And so.
And even in California and on the West Coast, with all of the fires and the smoke conditions, I know a whole bunch of people that either lost their homes in California and had to find new places to live, or they were just dealing. Friends in Oregon, for instance, the smoke conditions got so dense there that they they've sold their properties and they've come to Hawaii looking to buy.
Well, funny that you mention that, because my daughter, the veterinary student who is staying with me right now, lost her home in the Malibu fire. Oh. So both my daughters lost their home.
It's tragic.
It's very tragic. It's very, very tragic. And but there's bigger tragedies than losing the stuff that can be replaced. The biggest tragedies really are losing the environment, losing all of those species of animals, losing the entire ecosystem that we are part of and that we depend on for life itself, So not to belittle any of these fires, they were tragic, they were massive. They were, but fires are part of the landscape in California. Mm-hmm. But brings me to my next point, which is population growth. Because of population growth and overgrowth, people are moving into areas they did not live in before. Right? So, cyclically, these areas will burn. Santa Ana wind events, the right conditions, dry, hot winds, friction, fires break out everywhere. But now, there's people living in these fire zones, because people need to live somewhere. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the issues too. And as far as population goes, a lot of people don't know, but here on Maui, we have a very, very high population growth rate.
The growth rate?
The growth rate is higher, much, much higher than the mainland, and even higher than the world average itself. And I think a lot of people don't know that.
So that's how attractive Maui County is, Maui Nui, to the rest of the world, that the increase in our population is outpacing the national average and the global average. We're growing faster into this very limited. Maui is not a big island.
We're not growing any new land.
Right. Well, there's a little bit going on the big island.
A little bit on the big island, yeah, but we're going to have to wait until that's
habitable.
Exactly. There's so many things going on with climate change and how it's going to. So how is it going to impact us here in Maui County? Okay, we already talked about sea level rise. Okay. The storms, we had some near misses this past hurricane season. Well, it's not going to be long before we get one head on. And we're going to feel the impacts of
the
those.
coastal erosion is going to be massive with seawalls, the effect of seawalls and all those issues.
Absolutely. The coastal erosion, but also, you know, the coral reefs are going to suffer, right? Because as all that runoff goes and chokes out the reefs, you know, they need sunshine. They're photosynthetic animals, the little coral polyps. And as they get covered in, you know, silt, they die. And that's one of our big, you know, economically, that's going to hurt us, because when we lose our coral reefs, which are, by the way, some of the healthiest in the world, if we don't protect them, we lose them, we're going to lose a lot of tourism.
Well, they've been dying. I mean, the reefs, there has been a lot of destruction.
Oh,
to
a
the
lot
reefs
of destruction.
Because, you know, we've talked about on this show many times, you know, issues of public works in subdivision permit approval process,
right.
Deferral agreements where developers are not required to do shoreline mitigations so that they can take an oceanfront lot and build a house that virtually fills the entire lot and do nothing they do nothing to mitigate the runoff from that roof.
Exactly. No bioswales. Yeah.
They get away with doing it, and that's one of the you know, the precious changes that hopefully can be made here in Maui County is to change the structure of our planning department and public works and the loopholes that exist in that existing system today. We need to close those loopholes because they exist for the benefit of some individuals who knew how to work that system and, you know, get something done for their clients that nobody else could do because they knew how the system was rigged. And that's not fair to you, it's not fair to the general public, and we have the opportunity and really the requirement to make those kinds of changes in our local county governmental structure. And for the benefit of the environment, that's one of the reasons that, and I got into all of this in Maui Causes because we started to look at, you know, essentially a documentary on the contributing factors of our shoreline erosion and degradation. What are these contributing factors? And lo and behold, you know, there's all these, you know, $6 million oceanfront homes that nobody did the environmental mitigation. Nobody required them. Nobody enforced the permits to require that developer. And it was a, you know, individual project. Maybe it's 1 or 2, 3 homes through this 3-lot or less, you know, a deferral agreement system. And all of this happened while no one was looking.
Right.
And we're looking now. We
are looking now, and we're very positively encouraged by our new county council, right, and the chair, Kelly King. And what's interesting is, not to segue too much, but we're seeing more women on the county council now than we've ever seen in Maui County history. We're seeing 100 women of all colors in the House of Representatives on the 100th anniversary of voting rights for women in America. So what we're seeing is Mother Earth is rising, okay? And she wants to protect the earth for her children, not us, not just us, but the many generations, the 7 generations that come after us. And she will prevail. She will prevail with our hard work. She's speaking to us. So we are going to make sure that life prevails on this planet. We have no question.
As we know it.
As we know it. We have all of the tools to do it, Sam. The thing that we have working against us right now, and the only thing working against us right now, is the fossil fuel industry, right? The fossil fuel industry is strong.
Yes.
They have bought so many senators and so many representatives, and they don't just work on the national level, they work on the state level. They've been seen here in Maui County at public feedback events where they snuck in and were caught, basically. So,
and the fossil fuel industry is, you know, people don't understand how far into our the products
absolutely.
that get consumed by
Plastic.
our society, how far that expands into, because it goes deeply into our agricultural system as well.
Absolutely.
And the so many of the fertilizers and the agricultural products that are sold to farmers on a mass scale are petroleum based.
Right.
And they come out of that same funnel, that same fossil fuel problem.
Absolutely.
And so that's another lobby and tremendous power base given over to those corporate interests.
12% of carbon emissions are from our agricultural practices, which can be modified. We can drive that down much, much, much lower with responsible farming practices, which we're all aware of here on Maui County, yet we still have Monsanto over there in Kihei, which, it was a long, hard fight, and now they don't own the land,
no,
right?
They don't, but
they don't own the land.
They have leases, and
they do have leases.
I've not heard on anything about the Mahipono group that has made this purchase of all those thousands of acres. They also purchased the land that is being leased by Monsanto. And so far, there's been no comment or no word as to whether those leases are going to continue. We don't even know how long Monsanto has a lease for.
Right. Well, I know they're winding down operations because
Monsanto is.
Yeah, because of I don't know what their goal is, but I know that they've sort of backed off because of the public outcry. So we'll see what happens. But this is our land, right? This is Maui. This is our future, And Monsanto will not prevail. We will prevail, one way or another. We've got a county council now that is in touch with what the people want, and that's why we're asking the county council to pass a resolution, a fossil-free resolution. Now, Mayor Arakawa in 2015 signed a resolution to make us, I believe, fossil-free by 2045, or fossil-free transportation by 2045. Well, in 2015, that sounded like a great goal, but we have more information now, and 2045 is far too late. So we're asking for 2030. So, and that's actually not that ambitious. If you look at Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez and her Green New Deal and the Green New Deal, the Bernie-crats, they're looking in the next 10 years to phase out fossil fuel. Now, of course, there's things that go along with that, right? We don't want any economic injustice to anyone.
The system has to.
So the federal
itself.
Government, they have plans for the federal government to come in and, accommodate for some of those economic injustices that may occur because of that. Of course, the fossil fuel industry is not happy with that. And even though we have Democrats in the House, a lot of them, their pockets are lined with fossil fuel money.
Yes.
And their campaign coffers.
They are corporatists. There's so many of them, even amongst the Democrats have been
absolutely.
corporatists. And
absolutely.
Clinton and Obama were both corporatists. So
absolutely.
Some good things, but other things of supreme importance, like we're talking about, no, they really didn't do what was needed.
No, if it didn't happen in the 8 years of the Obama years. Right?
When would it have happened?
Can't really blame Trump.
Right.
Okay. So, nothing's happening on the national scene.
No, in fact, we're going in
and
reverse.
So, which brings me to one of the points I wanted to bring up today is that anything that is going to change is really got to change at the local level.
Right.
And it's been recognized by all of these organizations, by 350.org, by Climate Reality Project, which I'm also part of, that things have to start at the grassroots level, at the smallest level possible. So it's a local responsibility that we have to wean ourselves from fossil fuel, no longer support these companies that are running our government, right, and destroying our democracy and destroying our planet. So it's a lot like the tobacco industry, right? It took time. They had a big lobby. They were very strong.
And they lied in court.
They lied in court, and we prevailed. We prevailed because we were sick and tired of seeing people die of cancer. My own mother died of lung cancer, because she was unfortunately very addicted to nicotine. So we're addicted to fossil fuel, and it's killing us
as a nation.
And it's killing us. And the sooner now, when are we going to? We're not talking about if we're going to be fossil free. We're talking about when. The sooner we go fossil free, the cheaper it will be for us in the long run.
Right.
Okay. So the longer we delay, the more it's going to cost. The more it's going to cost to our children. The more it's going to cost to our environment.
Well, relocating, if it's even possible to reverse the effects of the shoreline of the sea level rise, the costs, the economic costs related to relocating resources, essential resources to higher ground is an extraordinary expense.
Right.
That's
It's extraordinary, and I've heard from some of the old guard in politics last year that, well, we just don't have the money. Well, we're going to find the money to fix it.
We're going to have to.
We're going to have to. So why don't we be proactive rather than reactive and do this? Because if, once the port goes, there goes our food supply. 90% of our food comes in on those.
And in previous administrations, it's my understanding of the Arakawa administration that their way of handling these kinds of really large-scale financial risks is to do nothing, let the shit happen,
right,
and then expect the federal government to come in and bail us out.
Yeah. Well,
that's been the prevailing strategy for a very long time.
And we saw what happened in Puerto Rico. There were some parts of Puerto Rico were 1 year without electricity. Now we're even farther from the continent, we're the most isolated island chain in the world, right? We don't have a big continent next door to come and bail us out quickly.
Right.
So we are going to be far worse off than Puerto Rico if something like that is to occur. Additionally, the Kahului port is in hurricane inundation zone. Of course, it has to be. It's and we have no other way.
We just experienced it not so long ago when we had some hurricane weather, and the chop in Kahului Harbor was so extreme that the boats couldn't enter.
Right.
And we ended up, with this shortage of food. There's only, an estimated 3 days of food supply currently on the island at any given time. We're importing 85–90% of our food.
Yeah.
And so, if there is any kind of catastrophic change or any damage, done to the harbor, everybody's going to be up country hunting deer to survive.
Yeah, and it's going to exacerbate some of the problems we already have.
People be hunting down those feral cats, and they'll be eating those.
Well,
feral cats.
I won't be one of those being a vegetarian, but I can imagine. I'll keep my dogs indoors.
There you go.
I know you're up country too, so I'll definitely keep my cat indoors.
Hopefully, it never comes to that. That's the whole point.
Absolutely,
and we can get ahead of this issue, and this initiative to bring to the county council an initiative to create a carbon free and a fossil fuel free initiative starting today.
So what it says is no new fossil fuel infrastructure beginning as soon as this resolution is signed.
And what would be a fossil fuel? So a new power plant that would go on, that would burn coal or diesel.
Exactly. And certainly, our population is growing, right? Tourism is growing. People need more energy. People need more fuel. While we do have great renewable projects, and we pat ourselves on the back for how much solar we have, we still use more diesel than any other state, okay? And
Hawaii uses more diesel fuel than any other state?
Proportionally. Proportionally, yes. Well, if you look at all of the other states, they've been using hydropower. That's their renewable energy, right? We don't have that here. Well, we've got 0.1%, and some of the old streams and ditches. But 0.1%.
And there is a lot of flowing water, so that actually could be used.
Not so much. Probably pumped hydro.
We have the elevation so that you can pump water up and then let it run down.
Using solar, you pump the water up, you keep it up there, and then when you have no wind and no sun, then you use that, and the water flows down, and the turbines flow, and we generate electricity.
That way.
So that's how islands do hydro, is that way. And it's not a new concept. There's many islands all over the planet that are doing this. There are fossil-free islands on this planet already, right? So we're not way ahead of everybody in renewable energy by any means, okay?
So there's a lot of applicable technology that we can benefit from.
Absolutely.
If we have the desire. And this resolution that you're putting forward sets that as a goal, as a limit, that no new
we will not invest,
infrastructure be contemplated here that is based on fossil
fuels. Exactly.
And that's a simple, relatively simple commitment. It has large implications, but it definitely, is a simple resolution for the county to adopt to set the standard, to set that bar and make it real.
Yes, now there are some bad actors that can work around that. As we see on the Big Island, our neighbors over on the Big Island, the Honua renewable power plant, they're burning trees.
Trees as renewable power.
Yeah, and the
trees are renewable.
The trees are renewable, but they put out more carbon per kilowatt hour than fossil fuel does.
Well, there's a lot better ways of extracting energy out of any organic product rather than burning it.
Well, and I think they're even importing trees from the Northwest.
And they're actually
don't quote me.
They're actually burning?
They're burning trees.
Because there's, it's called pyrolysis. It's a gasification where it's a controlled burn. It's a burn that's done in a virtual vacuum where just enough oxygen is allowed into the burn chamber to keep that controlled. And they're able to generate heat and able to generate gases that come off of that, that condense, and you're able to get fuel without emitting the carbons as smoke.
Exactly. As long as you use a renewable energy source. To fire up those kilns, whatever is needed.
We looked at it here in Maui County years ago when the county first put out a request for proposals on a waste to energy system. We looked at pyrolysis systems, bamboo as a fuel for fast growing carbon absorbing bamboo is fabulous.
Biochar,
Now we have an opportunity with hemp to bring hemp into the equation.
Yeah, and for soil remediation as well. Because the bamboo biochar is great for soil remediation. Hemp is great for soil remediation, and we're hopeful that Mahi Pono, that Mahi Pono will be true to their word and do this effective remediation on the soils that is so desperately needed if we truly want food security here on the island.
One of the biggest advantages of hemp and the new ability under the 2018 Farm Act, if you hadn't heard, at the end of the year, the government decriminalized agricultural hemp. That was a prohibition that was created in the 1930s by the fossil fuel industry, in conjunction with the paper industry, in conjunction with the cotton industry. Because prior to that prohibition, all of those products were primarily made from hemp. But Weyerhaeuser Corporation, owning lots of trees, finally figured out how to make paper out of tree pulp. They use lye and heavy chemicals to break it down. And so they didn't want hemp paper being the thing anymore. The cotton industry was on the rise in the South, and they didn't want hemp being the primary textile product. The oil and gas industry was building refineries, and they didn't want hemp oil to be on the market and readily available to farmers. And so they manufactured this prohibition. And for over 80 years, hemp was considered more dangerous than heroin. That's an absolute fantasy. It was an absolute crime. And lo and behold, here in 2019, hemp is now just considered like corn. If a farmer wants to grow corn, they have to register in a federal program. It's like getting a driver's license, no more complicated than that. And they register their farm, their agricultural process with the state agricultural division, and they're good to go. They can grow what they need to grow. And now that same process, hemp, industrial hemp, agricultural hemp, we can grow that here in Maui County. We have to create a statewide structure, a permit structure, a very simple one. Again, it doesn't have to be more complicated than a driver's license. And that process is being approached. We've had on the show here, Steve Rose and Shane Smith, who are operatives for the Maui Hemp Institute for Research and Sustainability, that is bringing forth legislation to be able to allow farmers to start growing hemp here unrestricted. And one of the most important ways that hemp can benefit our local agricultural system is as a windbreak.
Right.
There's a lot of crop. That Central Valley, man, that gets some heavy winds. Up. And a lot of the more delicate crops get destroyed by those heavy winds.
Right.
So hemp can give us an almost immediate, the stuff can grow so fast that we can have windbreaks grown so to facilitate other crops.
It's a win-win. Remediating the soil, the windbreaks. I don't know how many hemp products that we need ourselves here on Maui. Monocropping is probably not the way we want to go, certainly, and this is outside of my area of expertise, certainly. But yeah, hemp was demonized for a long time. And that's how industries can come in, and for that long, I don't know how many years.
80 years.
80 years hemp was demonized, yep. Right? And
just crazy.
Right. So it shows you the corporate control. Especially
as a food product.
Right.
Because, hemp seeds and the omegas, the omega-6s, well, it's not just the one omega, there's an omega-3, there's omega-9s, yeah. And we as human beings need all of that.
Absolutely.
And that was all taken out of our food supply. Hemp was a pervasive feed for farm animals. So even the eggs that you got from a chicken, if you eat eggs, the eggs from a chicken that is being fed hemp seeds, mm-hmm. those omegas, those rich
Absolutely.
Omegas go into the egg.
I know all about it.
You're able to benefit from the nutritional value. It's like broccoli and carrots.
Right.
We need these things. The Israelis have done the research. We've talked about it many times here on the show here, that the predominant citizens around the world are all living in a cannabinoid deficiency. We are hardwired as biological entities to receive these food
Absolutely.
Products.
Absolutely.
And this illegitimate prohibition that has been in place for 80 years up until
Agreed.
Just December has put us all into that deficiency.
Right, and I'll no longer have to import my hemp granola from Canada.
There you go.
So we do have hemp granola, in the grocery store. If you look, they're all from Canada.
Yeah, they are.
Because they can't be grown here.
Right.
So now we can grow products here that we can eat. I eat a lot of hemp. I'm a vegetarian. I don't like fish-fed eggs. I like hemp-fed eggs.
Yeah.
So
these are very real things.
Yeah. Do we have time for
We've got another 6 minutes.
A 2-minute. Well, I have a little 2-minute presentation from 350.org mm-hmm. that I'd like to put out here that talks about boots on the ground and why we need to work locally and what we're up against.
Here's how we avert a worsening climate crisis and build a renewable and fair society together and fast. It's not about changing light bulbs or expecting your elected officials to lead. It's about you taking action right now, where you have the most power, your very own community. We, the people, have to take down the fossil fuel industry if we want to replace it with renewable energy for all. The fossil fuel industry have spent decades creating and denying a climate crisis that is already affecting millions of us around the world. So how do we take down the most powerful industry in the history of the world? It's quite simple, actually, by building enough local people power. Fossil fuel companies only have the power that we are willing to give them. They are supported by our public institutions, giving them social acceptability through sponsorships and partnerships. Our very own investments, allowing them to expand into new fossil fuel projects that are completely unnecessary. Our politicians, allowing them to operate and pollute within our very own communities. But look what happens if enough people are pushing against those very pillars of support. What if communities all over the world stand up for themselves and say, no more fossil fuel projects. Not here, not anywhere. If we pass local bans and organize ourselves to resist fossil fuel projects in our very communities. Not a penny more for dirty energy. If our universities, museums, pension funds divest from fossil fuels and refuse their tainted sponsorships. Now imagine how much more quickly those pillars of support will fall if we are accelerating a just and fair transition to 100% renewable energy for all. If we're actively promoting the kind of community-controlled and just alternatives we want to see.
I think what's key at the end of that, not only a fast transition, this transition has to go fast. We really have to put effort, but a just transition. That means we're not taking away anybody's jobs, okay?
Right.
If we are replacing that with something else, with some training, some kind of funding, some kind of support for those people. We don't want any injustice in this transition, but it has to occur rapidly. You know, so how we do that here on Maui County, one thing I want to get in before the end of the session is 350.org. You can go to 350hawaii.org and sign up. We need more boots on the ground. The organizing team that I'm heading up right now, until I get a committee to vote me out, is looking for some leaders. So we need all kinds of talent on our team. We do have.
This is local, so people can
local
involve
Maui. We have a West Maui coordinator. That's Ananda Stone. She was the woman who did the Move the Road campaign.
Right. And Ananda Stone has been on the show for representing the Common Ground Collective.
Absolutely, yeah. She's a real environmentalist, and we're real happy to have her working on the ground in Lahaina for us. We would like representation, definitely, in all parts of the island, South Maui, Waihe'e, Wailuku, that area. Hana, definitely, the Hana area, who we always feel so out of touch with, but we need to hear from them. So we really want to hear from frontline communities, and we want people to join the team. And if you have a little extra time and intention to help join the leadership team as well, we work with all of the islands across Hawaii, and
people you have a website of 350hawaii.org.
350hawaii.org. You can go and you can sign up for our mailing list. You can also write to me, Rita Ryan, RITARYAN, just like it sounds, Rita Ryan at 350hawaii.org. If you're interested in joining the leadership team, we can really use the help.
And what a fantastic opportunity too to reach out, for, if you haven't already, to the Ahamoku system of the indigenous Hawaiian land management system. All those pie wedges from mountaintop to ocean.
The hapuas, yeah.
Each of those has a representation on the local level, who have many of the same concerns and understandings as what you're expressing.
Absolutely.
So there's a natural marriage there, I think.
Absolutely. And
also this resolution that will be something that is going to get presented to whichever committee as the committees are formed.
Absolutely.
Kelly King King has expressed an
preliminary,
understanding of this, and I know
yes.
Many of the other council members have sensitivity to these issues.
Absolutely.
And hopefully a willingness to support that. There'll be an opportunity at some point for people to give testimony.
Absolutely. We need testimony. The politicians need to hear from us. We need to help them do their job. We voted them in, and we can't stop now. We need to help them get these resolutions through to make the change that we're asking for, that we voted them in for. And
that, involves educating our community.
Absolutely.
This program is here dedicated towards that. You with 350hawaii.org, you as a speaker representing these things, other people, if they have an interest and an ability to present in public, you've got slides and other videos that support all of this. Tremendous amount of information through Al Gore's organization is available to support this climate change mitigation.
Yes.
So there are lots of resources that people can access through you to bring this into their local community, to bring this to a Rotary presentation, a Chamber of Commerce presentation, so that we can get this information out into the general public in a way that is understandable and that people can not be afraid of, and that they can enjoy and participate in this process. 2019
is going to be a great year.
It is going to be
here on Maui, and all of the islands in Hawaii are looking at Maui because we do have this progressive council, and we are going to be leading the change here in the state, and we're very excited about it, and we're really happy about it.
It is a fantastic thing, and it's due to you, the voters, for coming forward in this past election to support county council members who have an admitted understanding of these issues and a willingness to confront our existing structure, which has been facilitated and facilitating the special money interests. A very small percentage of the population is benefiting financially from these aspects here in Maui County, and we wish to break that system open, democratize it, and allow for appropriate transparency and accountability in our local county government. Rita Ryan, thank you so much for joining us and being here. Support us at mauicauses.org and support Akaku. This program is brought to you as a public service by Maui Causes. Maui Causes is a crowd-funded media production group that provides media production services to a variety of environmental and progressive causes here in Maui County. Visit us on the web at www.mauicauses.org.